Hey, Mortgage Coach community, Dave Savage here, and today I am interviewing Steve Brown, the Futurist. What's up, Steve?
How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good. So for anyone that did not see my last interview with Steve Brown, I recommend, I'll put a link below if you want to listen to the whole conversation. Check it out. It was a great conversation. Steve, before I set the table on the topic and I start asking you questions, if you could just give folks a little bit of a backstory on your, who you are, where you came from, and then I'll just start driving this conversation.
Sure. So, hi everybody. Steve Brown. I had about 30 years experience in high tech, working for Intel, and the last piece of my career there, I worked as Intel's Futurist. So I was Intel's Chief Evangelist and Futurist. So looking at what the world looks like and feels like to live in 5, 10, and 15 years from now. So now that I have left Intel, which was about 18 months ago, I'm an independent speaker and consultant, mostly speaker, and I talk all around the world about the impact on business of everything from artificial intelligence and robots to blockchain, augmented reality, Internet of Things, 5G networking, and so on. But I try and make it, while I am a technology person, I always talk in business terms so that business leaders can understand the implications to what they'll be doing 3, 5, 10, 15 years from now. So that's me.
Love it. Love it. So whether you're on this call and you're a CTO of a mortgage company, so your job is to build out the technology stack and the capabilities for your company to thrive during this digital transformation, whether you're the CEO or head of production, that you're driving goals, you're driving a sales team, and especially the loan officer. If you're on this call and you are an individual loan officer, I'm going to speak directly to you from the perspective that you're local, you rely on referrals from realtors, past customers, and CPAs. So local referral-based mortgage professional, I really recommend you listen up here, because I think Steve's got some important concepts that you need to understand, so that not only do you upgrade how you're using technology and the technology that you use, but you upgrade yourself. There's great tech, but how individual LOs leverage it and use it in their day-to-day, there's a lot that needs to be upgraded. So Steve, let's start with, when I interviewed you last, you talked about, how there's going to be more change over the next 10 years than 50 years. So if you could kind of explain that concept. And then I want to really, as you explain that concept, I want to break it down to 2 years. What does that mean in 2020? So if you could jump on that.
Sure. So, I come from the world of technology and computer chips. And computer chips and the speed of transistors and the size of the transistors, which are like the basic building block that make up computer chips, those have been increasing at an exponential rate. So you have twice as many transistors go into a chip every couple of years. And that's been going for the last 50 years, and that's known as Moore's Law. It's an observation by Gordon Moore, who's one of the co-founders of Intel. What Moore's Law means is that over 10 years, something becomes 1,000,000 times better, because you're seeing things go at an exponential rate. If you double something every year, you get an exponential increase. Over 10 years, things are literally 1,000,000 times faster, 1,000,000 times cheaper, and so on. So what you've seen over the last 50 years of the innovation in computing is that digital technology, a computer that filled an entire room and was the fastest computer on the planet, is now a pittance compared to the compute power inside my phone. That is going to continue. Now, the rate of change has slowed a little. You may have read about some of that in the press. But over the next 10 years, probably this will continue for about another 10 years, we will see more change and impact to business and the way we live our lives in those 10 years than the last 50 years combined, because of the way that exponentials work. So the compute power that we have seen up till now, we will see more deployed in the next 10 years in terms of compute horsepower than we have seen in the last 50. And what that means for the next 2 years is that we probably will see more impact from compute technology in the next 2 years than the last 10 years. And think about what compute technology was like 10 years ago. These things were just starting to come onto the market. And think about how much impact they have had in the last decade. Now look forward the next few years, you're going to see the impact of artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, speech, voice platforms, The way that we interact with technology and computers will change dramatically. And if you look at just a little further to 5 years, we'll all be wearing computers in our glasses and starting to interact with digital information in completely new ways. So buckle up, a lot of change coming just in a very short period of time.
I love it. And so, I'm interviewing Sue Woodard at the end of this month, and it's called You 3.0, where you really need to upgrade yourself. And so think about that, mortgage professional. Think about how much technology has changed what you do in the past 10 years, and now think about 2020, there's going to be that much change. So there's a lot. And I think as important it is to embrace technology and to deploy new technologies and get them integrating and working better together, it's just important or more important to get, human capital, me, upgrade me and how I use it. So let's talk about some of the key technologies impacting the mortgage space. I have kind of my views on that, but I'm interviewing you. So what are some industries that we should watch? What are some things that you think will, we can watch to see where the puck is going in the mortgage space? Anything come to mind?
Well, let's up-level it a bit first, Dave. I think the key thing to note, and I look at all different industries. So, mortgage is one of them I look at in the financial sector, but I look at retail, hospitality, transportation, entertainment, media, agriculture. I look at them all. And so I look at trends that run across all of those sectors. And I think every one of the trends I'm going to talk about applies to the mortgage sector as well. Every business that I look at that I think is in a position to be successful moving forward is one that is gathering data relentlessly. And they're gathering that data, not always knowing what they will use it for, but knowing that they need to gather as much data about their customers, about the way that they interact with their customers, about their business operations, how they perform as a business, so that they can analyze that data and make better informed decisions for their business and serve their customers better. So data-driven decision-making is any company that is not embracing that, any individual that is not supporting that effort of their company to embrace gathering data and analyzing it to make higher quality decisions is putting themselves at a competitive disadvantage. And that'd be the first one, is really pay attention to understanding and documenting, gathering data on your customers' behaviors, how things are going in your operations, so that you can learn from that and do better. The second sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just add something there, because that really supports one of the things that we talk a lot about, and that is right now, Q1 2018, and for this year, it's leveraging your database. And so for all you loan officers on the phone, there's things you could be doing right now that 80% of loan officers don't do. Like start asking families, how do you want me to communicate with you? It's no longer email and phone. It's email, phone, text, messenger, and I could go on, but I think that those are the main ways that families are communicating now is, can I say it one more time? Phone call, text, email, and Facebook Messenger is just shooting through the rocket with usage. And so, you as a loan officer right now, you can start capturing that, and you can use that to enhance the personalization of your relationship. So forget about capturing it so you can make better decisions in 2 years. Capture it so you can build faster relationships right now. And be a multi-channel mortgage professional. That means know how people want to be communicated and communicate with them accordingly. Back to you, Steve.
So I'm glad that you stopped me there and interjected, because what you said plays exactly into what I was going to say next, which is you can use that data that you gather to make higher quality business decisions, to run your business more effectively. But you can also use it to better understand your customers and serve them better. And if you look at what, and this applies to consumers across all sectors, they're all looking for more choice and control. And the way that shows up is they're looking for services and products as well to be both personalized and customizable. So people often think that those two words mean the same thing, and they don't. So customized, a customized service or product is one where the person buying that service or product specifies what they want, how they want it. So they're very explicit and they have control over that. So when you go and buy a fancy cup of coffee at Starbucks, that is customization, because you wanted the latte with the hot foam and the sprinkles and whatever, right? That is a customized product. Personalization is where the person delivering the service or product figures out what you want by observing you and tracking you and understanding you. So I don't have to say, if a personalized product would be, I walk into Starbucks and they go, we've been watching what you buy. We think you're probably going to want one of these today because on a Tuesday, this is what you've bought in the past. Are we right? Did we get it right? And I go, you know me. Brilliant. But they do that because they've analyzed my previous purchases. They've looked at the history of those over time, and they have used that to predict and guess what I might want. So they've made that easier for me. I don't have to go in and go, I want the latte with the sprinkles and the hot foam, or whatever weird thing it might be I want. They've guessed that for me, and they can say, is this what you wanted? Yes. They've made my purchase decision simpler. So there's a couple of simple examples there of customization versus personalization. Customization you can do just by asking. You can ask your customer, what do you want? So that you can then change your behavior. And in Dave, the example you gave is, do you want me to contact you via WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, text, voice, email, all of the above? And then you can change your behavior to match. Personalization would be, you've observed how they reach out to you. You reach back to them that same way. And maybe you can systematize that. You can watch, how does this customer, how have they reached out to our organization? Okay, we're going to reach back to them in that same way, in those same channels. So that's the customization.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I don't want to get ahead of your next thing, but I also want to, something we've been talking a lot about lately is using your database and then amplifying your voice to give personal service. And we advocate something called an annual mortgage review, where a loan officer will go back to their past customers, deliver, here's what your mortgage is, here's how it compares to the market, and here are some recommendations, and have a strategic conversation. And I guess I would just draw parallels to everyone on this call, that's an example of leveraging data, using technology, and delivering both personalized and customized advice. So keep it going. What are some of the other things that you think we need to watch for in any other industries we should watch?
Well, yeah, so let's sort of carry on from that vein of customization, personalization, which is something that is happening in the retail sector right now, right? They're all trying to figure out how do we deliver that to our customers. I think there's a worthy parallel to be drawn here, and it is worth the mortgage sector watching what happens to the retail sector very closely. I think the retail sector is way ahead of the mortgage and loan sector in terms of the impact of digitization, but it is coming. And so you can learn from the way that retailers are behaving. What you're seeing in retail, the behemoth, Amazon, and right behind them, the collaboration between Walmart and Google, two very well high infrastructure investment organizations that are leveraging data to make decisions and to deliver personalization. So when Amazon makes you recommendations, that is a personalization. They're analyzing your previous purchases and saying, well, if you bought this and this, then you might want to buy one of these. Walmart is doing a very similar thing, but they're using data and analyzing your purchase histories and the way people behave in the stores to tune their operations. I'll give you an example. Walmart, they have about 700 data engineers. 700 people who just gather and analyze data in that company. It's amazing. They figured out by looking at weather patterns around their stores and the buying patterns, looking at the point of sale data of their customers in their stores, that if the weather is a certain temperature and there's a light breeze, has to be a light breeze, customers are more likely to come in looking to buy berries. Now, if you're in retail, you know that a 3% uplift in your product sales are phenomenal. You have a little happy dance if you do 5% uplift when you've done a promotion or something. They put their berries, when they saw that this weather condition was coming in a store location, they would put their berries in the front of the store. And sales of those berries went up by not 3% or 5%, but 300%. because they had figured this out by deeply analyzing data. So they were able to make decisions. They do similar things. They know exactly when you're going to come in and buy steak versus mincemeat and burgers based on different weather conditions. Who knew? So by analyzing data and predicting what your customers may want, you can make better decisions. Now, so you've got these behemoths, Amazon and Walmart, Google. There's that partnership where Google's kind of bringing the data analytics. Walmart's pretty good at that too. They've been in the data analyzing business for a couple of decades. But those two behemoths, and then you've got the rest of the retail sector thinking, well, crap, what do we do? Where do we fit into this? And I think what you're going to see happen in the retail sector is this continued bifurcation where you have two halves of retail. It's going to split apart, where you have the, I buy on price and convenience, and I order online and it just comes to my house. And in the future, that's going to come via drone and robot. Or on the other side of the house, and this is where brick and mortar retailers need to focus their attention, is not to use technology to make it cheap and easy to have stuff come to your house, but instead to use technology to improve the quality of service and the experience that you get if you get your ass off the couch and go physically into a store. That's the way that retail is going to go. You're going to see it split more and more and more. There's no space in the middle in retail in the future. Now you apply that to the mortgage sector. What does that mean? You're already starting to see the same way that sort of in 2000 timeframe, it wasn't clear that Amazon was going to be the big guy it is today. But it was starting to emerge. Leaders were starting to emerge, and eventually, Amazon came through as the big one to beat. You're already starting to see the digitized players in the mortgage sector stand up and start to advertise and push themselves. Quicken Rocket Mortgage is one, there are others. Eventually, those are going to get big enough and powerful enough, and they will have stripped away so much of the friction from that process that there will be a portion of the market that will go that way. They're the same people that are on the couch ordering stuff and having it come in an Amazon box to their house. But the same way that 85 to 90% of retail sales are still in physical locations. People still go to the store because there is more to buying stuff than just getting it. Right? You go to the store for the theater of it. It looks amazing. You walk into Nordstrom's or Macy's, it's lovely, right? You go because they suck up to you. You go because they help you find things you wouldn't otherwise have found. There's a styling service where they help you pick out a nice shirt you might like. You go for the service, the experience. You go for a social thing. You go because you trust them. And there's a lot, there's a lot of component there. People are buying a home. It's probably one of the biggest purchases that they will make. So there is a comfort in having a loan officer and a real estate agent who sit side by side and walk you through that process. So while I say you're going to have a portion of the population that will not want your service anymore, they're going to go Rocket, and whatever Rocket becomes, and that becomes super streamlined in the way that Amazon has become super streamlined. But there will still be a portion who want the high touch, high service. They want an experience. They want the confidence that you help give them. They trust you to walk them through this process. So I think there's a lot to be learned by looking at the retail sector, see what's happening now, see this bifurcation, and figure out which one are you. Are you going to invest to go compete with Rocket? Or are you going to do the high touch, in which case you've got to really figure out, how do I use technology to deliver a highly customized, highly personalized experience and better service than I can do today?
So folks, there you have it. I mean, and I do believe in 2020 where, the Rocket and other technology dedicated lenders will be, the way they leverage artificial intelligence, the way they leverage big data, the way they leverage video, the way they leverage multi-device experiences will make a real difference. And so, if you're a referral-based loan officer today, you need to be capturing data like there was no tomorrow. There's like a race for your customer. And then you can't wait 2 years to use that data. Rob Chrisman has a newsletter. You don't know Rob, but he's a a leader in our industry. He's got probably the most well-read daily newsletter. And I saw kind of a rant going back and forth. Who owns the customer? Is it the wholesaler that's servicing it? Is it the individual loan officer that did the loan? And you know what? You know who owns the customer? The person that has an emotional connection with that customer. And the person in the mortgage professional that has the most relationships where there's a personal connection. You know, your humanity, human to human. And by the way, will some of your customers where you have a human relationship go through the, you know, big data? Yes, you will lose some of those. But if you leverage technology today, building your database, using Mortgage Coach, doing annual reviews, like literally if you just did two things, leverage your database, did an annual review where you know, 15 minutes with a family where you demonstrated, I care about you. I want to help you build wealth with real estate. I want to make sure you make good decisions. And then you probably had one more human connection throughout the year. A lot of coaches in our space recommend a call on your birthday. I'm going to be interviewing a pretty interesting guy, Steve Smith, the author of Blue Fishing. He's going to talk about personalization. But if you just kind of like use technology and had a couple emotional experiences a year, you've got a customer for life. And you can't wait till 2020 to start collecting the data and start training yourself to use Mortgage Coach and tools like Mortgage Coach. Like here's another little simple tool. You know, a lot of folks are clicking, you know, sending out in an email, I want to schedule an annual review with you. Click this button to auto schedule a meeting. So what's that technology doing? It's creating a more efficient way to have a human being connection. Super simple, super small, but that's something that could 2x the amount of personal meetings that you have. And I don't know, Steve, what are your thoughts on those? And then let's make sure we get into some of the big nerdy stuff, you know, AI, big data, because I know I've got some CTOs on this call, even a few of them that gave me questions they want me to ask you. But what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, so I think you're right. I mean, anything you can do to remove the friction in a buying process or a decision process matters. Millennials are a huge generational sector. You know, Gen X globally is about 1 billion people. Millennials are about 2 billion people. And so you're seeing the retirement of the boomers, Gen X coming. I mean, you've interacted with lots of Gen Xers. Millennials are getting ready to buy houses. They're already buying houses. Many of them are already homeowners. 40% of them are parents. So, you know, this is the generation you need to be targeting. And it's not just exclusively millennials. I would attribute this to millennial behaviors, of which, you know, I'm a Gen Xer, you can tell by my haircut here. Gen Xers, I'm a Gen X with millennial tendencies, millennial behaviors. And millennials are driven by a desire for efficiency. And they'll be loyal to you. They will be loyal to a brand. They'll be loyal to a service or a business process that they participate in. Fiercely loyal until that moment where a competitor offers one click less as a way to do something, or something that's just a little bit slicker interface. So millennials are fiercely loyal, but they're also fickle in that if they find a better way to do something, you're old news and they'll move on. So you have to be mindful about removing friction. And by friction, I mean two clicks instead of one is a simple example. Remove friction from any process, any interaction process, any buying process, decision process that you can, and do that relentlessly. You'll always find ways to do it differently. So, you know, examples there, I have to be careful because there's one right next to me and I'll wake her up if I say her name. But Amazon's, I'll just do it and she's going to start talking to me. So Amazon's Alexa was a way, and she's waking up, I can see her in the corner of my eye. Let me put her on silent. Sorry, 1 second. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm not sure, yes. She's on silent now. All right, so we're safe. So Alexa is a way of making the decision process. So when you think, oh, I'm out of toilet paper, you can just say, Alexa, order more toilet paper, right? That's removing friction. The one button click, which Amazon actually patented, buy with one click, that was about taking friction out of the buying process. The Amazon, what are they called? Dash, I think they are, the buttons. So if you want to order Tide, and you can get this button that's connected to your Wi-Fi, and you stick it on your washing machine, and when you're out of Tide, you hit the Tide button, and that orders Tide, and it comes to your house. That is removing friction from the buying process. So it's all about removing friction. Look at ways you can use technology to do that, and that's either simple clicks or buttons or whatever, voice interfaces, but it also could be gathering data, personalizing so that you can reduce steps in the process by filling in things for people because you already know enough about them. Another reason to gather data is for predictive analytics. I haven't really thought through how relevant that will be to your sector, but it feels like it should be. To be able to predict based on what you know about your customers, when it's likely that they will want your services, need your services again, right? You just guess, or is there a pattern? Is there a hidden pattern that you can't see, but maybe an AI-powered analytics tool will find? I'll give you an example. Worked with a consumer electronics company that actually sold white goods, so washing machines, dishwashers, big screen TVs, that sort of thing, based in Europe. And we did some predictive analytics looking at their sales out data. What they found is, no surprise here, that people's washing machines last about 10 years. When they buy a washing machine, good chance they need another washing machine a decade later. So when they buy a washing machine, guess what? About 9.5 years later, that's when you start flooding them with ads for washing machines. What surprised them was that when you buy a washing machine, chances are actually quite good that 7 years later, you will buy a big screen TV. Completely unintuitive, doesn't make any sense. Why would that be? But there's a very strong pattern there. And so they looked at all people that had bought washing machines 7 years ago and peppered them with ads and special offers for big screen TVs. And guess what? Sales went shooting up. So you never know what you will find, what patterns you will find in the data that a human mind will not see, but the sophisticated analytics software will, that will unlock the secrets in your business and help you be more effective.
So Steve, I want to be respectful of your time, and I actually have a lot of questions.
Sure.
But I would love to, one, put this in our Facebook channel, and I would love to get a list of questions from both CTOs and heads of exec, and maybe we can just do a pure Q&A call sometime, in the next 30 days. Okay. So if you're watching this, you're watching YouTube and you got value, give us a like, share it with your C-suite, share it with your leadership team, hopefully get them going. If you're a leader and you're watching this, share it with your sales force. Hopefully it's making the case that, you need to use your CRM. A lot of mortgage companies have rolled out CRMs that, the data is not collecting, and a lot of mortgage companies, invest in Mortgage Coach. Thousands of loan officers use it, thousands don't. And hopefully it's a wake-up call to everybody that no matter how you do business, we're saying, hey, it's okay to be human. We're not saying everybody should do a digital everything, but you need to leverage digital technology. So like when you're quoting mortgage options, give them a digital total cost analysis so that now they're in your platform. You can update it in real time. You can stream a video into it. You can make it move so that it's an educational experience. Making sure that you've got if they like text, make sure you communicate them with text and it's in your CRM. And by the way, on the predictable piece, if you start capturing, all your past customer loan information, you're going to know how long has it been since someone bought. When did they buy their home? And they said that they wanted to buy a bigger home in 5 years. So you don't even need the machine to go through. And when you do your annual reviews, go, hey, you say you want to buy a bigger home in 5 years, it's 4 years, or it's 5 years, or it's 3 years. Let's plan to make sure you have that happen. I mean, a lot of this stuff can just be done with a little bit of rigor, a little bit of upgrading yourself so that you get these habits. So Steve, if anyone wants to connect, and I hope that we do, I hope we have folks that invite you to speak at their next sales rally or their next annual event, because I think not only do we need to, as an industry, embrace technology in terms of deploying it, but we need to get our sales force to use it. And I think you'd be a great speaker to help make that case. What would be the best way for people to reach out to you and hire you to come speak at an event or, engage with you?
The easiest way to find me is on my website, boldfuturist.com. And I have the outrageous British accents. People hear bold, B-O-L-D, but it's actually B-A-L-D, boldfuturist.com. There's a contact sheet on there, or you can just email me direct, steve@boldfuturist.com. I'd love to help out.
Yeah, and I have seen Steve speak at it's actually an event that had a combination of loan officers and realtors. And I'll tell you, I mean, incredible slides, incredible story. Everybody in the room was like, I need to get my tech game on. And so I know all you, lenders out there, you're deploying technology, you're using technology. Steve will help you create urgency and create change the behavior of the human beings that got to operate the technology. So with that said, I'm going to put a link below to Steve's website. I'm going to put a link below to the LinkedIn article I did about annual reviews. I tried to make the case that in 2018, that's your number one priority. And really, it just comes from this position that not only do I know you will do very successful this quarter, if you do annual reviews, you will be positioned in 2020 to where even if Quicken or whoever it is has big data, they're sending smart messages, you will have the social capital with your customers to do their next loan. And so hopefully you'll take my advice on that. Steve, thanks for making time for the Mortgage Coach community. I really appreciate you, brother.
My pleasure, my friend. Good to see you.